Hello, everybody. Greetings, everybody. And thank you for tuning in. So we're going to get into term 3. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. So what I've done here is for term 3, okay. For term 3, we're gonna focus on these 4 topics that I wrote down here. Okay. So for term 3, we're gonna focus on static electricity. So there are 4 topics: static electricity. And then the second topic is energy transfer in electrical systems. And then the third topic will be series and parallel circuits. Then the last topic of this term will be visible light. Okay. The last topic would be visible light. Now, okay, these are the 4 topics that will be our focus for term 3. Okay. So let's not waste time and let us get into static electricity. Okay. Now, static electricity here, what must happen here is that we must remind ourselves about the atomic structure. Okay. How does the structure of an atom look like from term 1? Okay. Because, well, it's going to be important here because the movement of electrons come from an atom. So we should know where the electrons are situated inside an atom. Okay. So we should know where the electrons are situated. So we're going to look at the atomic structure. Okay. So the atomic structure here is going to help us. The understanding of the atomic structure, what's happening here? At the center of the atom, we have the nucleus, and it has 2 types of particles. It has a proton, and then it has neutron. Okay. The electrons are situated outside of the nucleus here. Okay. The electrons are outside of the nucleus, and the charges are as follows. So the proton is positively charged, the electron is negatively charged, the neutron is neutral. Okay. So this is what it's very important for you to remember that the electrons are situated outside of the nucleus because for this topic, it is the movement of these electrons that's going to help us. So it is the movement of these electrons that will charge or discharge them, the particles and the materials that we're going to be looking at this topic. Okay. So the thing that is happening here, that what? So this over here explains atoms have a nucleus which contains protons and neutrons. Okay, not electrons, it's neutrons. Okay, so so it's these two, the first and the last. They are found inside the nucleus. Okay, this case here is what? Is the nucleus. So the nucleus is this thing here, which contains the positive charges and the neutral charges. Okay, now this is what the next thing that's going to happen here. We have to know the difference between now there is no movement. There is no movement of the particles inside the nucleus. What moves is what is outside of the nucleus here, the electrons. So the protons and the neutrons do not move. Okay. Now, atoms have a nucleus which contains protons and neutrons. Atoms also contain electrons situated outside of the nucleus. Okay. So the electrons are situated outside of the nucleus. It's very important to remember that. Okay. And then we say materials are said to be negatively charged if they have more electrons than protons. Okay. Or you can say if electrons are greater than protons, protons which are positive. Okay. Then we say it is negatively charged. And then the opposite is also defined. The materials are said to be positively charged if they have more protons than electrons. So positively charged protons than electrons. So we can say protons are greater than electrons. Yeah. So, like I said, only electrons can be transferred from one material to the other. Okay. Only electrons, okay, can be transferred from one material to the other. So of the three types of, it's only electrons. Okay. So protons and neutrons. Protons and neutrons are locked inside the nucleus. They are locked inside the nucleus and cannot be transferred from one material to the other. Cannot be transferred from one material to the other. So it is only electrons that can move, not protons. So this is going to be very important because when we start talking about friction, because friction, that's where the electrons start making movements between materials, okay? If, say, for example, we have a rod, okay? We have a rod here, and we have another rod. And then we can get another rod here. And then we have another rod this side. So if we take a cloth, a piece of cloth, okay, if we take a piece of cloth here and we use the cloth here to rub to rub on the what? On the rod here. So this is a rod. So if we use a cloth here, then what will happen is the rod will become positive. Okay. The rod becomes positive if it's rubbed by the cloth. Okay. So let's say we have another cloth here that we use. So the electrons, so what it means is that if it becomes positive, it means that the electrons are transferred, okay, from the rod to the cloth. So the cloth becomes negatively charged. Okay. So we have a cloth and a cloth that we use to rub the rod here. So the rod becomes positively charged and the cloth becomes negatively charged. What it means is the electrons are transferred from the rod to the cloth, okay? And then, now, what will happen here is there will be, so the rod here is positive, okay? And then that one is it's relatively neutral, okay? Now, what will happen between the two, okay? So let's say this is A, and this is rod B, and this is rod C, okay? Now, the charged rods, there will be an observation here, okay, because of the following principles. So materials with the same charge will push each other away. So this is called okay, let me not say it this way. So we say they repel each other. They repel each other. And then, so they repel if they have the same charge. Okay. And then materials with opposite charges. Opposite. Well, pull. So it's not push, okay? It's pull. Will pull each other. Will pull each other closer. We say they attract each other. We say that they attract each other. So what this means is going back to the rods, okay? Let's say we put A and B together, so there will be an effect, okay? So if we put A and B next to each other, so A is positive, so we put A and B next to each other. Mm, there is B here and there is A. So they will pull each other. There will be a force of attraction, okay, between A and B because this is positive and that one has negative charges inside it, okay? So there will be negative charges and inside B, okay, that are attracting the positive charges in A. So there will be attraction between A and B. And then if we take the same situation for A and C, if we take the same situation for A and C, Okay. In this case, both of the objects are positive. Okay. Because for A and C, there was a cloth that was used to rub the two objects together. And so the two objects will push each other away. Okay. So there will be repulsion. So, or you can say attract here in brackets. Here you can say repulsion, or you can say they repel. They repel each other. So this is A and C. Okay. So like we said before, if it's positively charged, it means it has more protons than electrons. So if they have the same charge, they will repel each other. If they have opposite charges, they will attract one another. Okay. And so it can be an object or it can be an atom. Okay. So the electrons can also be transferred from between atoms, isn't it? They can also be transferred between atoms. So they can move from one atom to another atom. Okay. So I think let's leave it here for lesson 1. Okay. Let's leave it here for lesson 1. So you leave your questions in the comment section. Okay. If there is anything you'd like me to clarify, you leave it in the comment section. So tomorrow, I will give you on the next lesson, lesson 2, I will give you a nice summary using a mind map about this topic. Okay. So what you have to be mindful of here is that what the positive charges don't move, it's the electrons that are moving. So when we're using the cloth here in each case, okay, the electrons move from a rod that is neutral, meaning there is a balance of electrons and protons on a neutral rod B. So the electrons move from the rod to the cloth, and the rod becomes positively charged. And that's what gives it the charge. Okay. So let's leave it here for lesson 1. Leave your questions in the comment section, and I hope to see you in lesson 2.